Your turn to tell us which song, don't ask a question, tell us which song we should talk about. What's the song you want to talk about?
Desolation Row.
You really want to start there?
I mean, well, we don't have to start there.
No, we can start there.
But given this week, I mean, you know.
Can you hold the mic a little closer?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, given this week, I mean, those lyrics just kind of surfaced.
All right.
Repeatedly
right.
for me. So.
All right, great. Desolation Row it is. They're selling postcards of the hanging. They're painting the passports brown. Do we need to stop there? A Duluth lynching or hanging? Probably is thinking about 3 people who were hanged in Duluth in his, I guess, before his time. You want to start? Do you want to play the first?
Sure. Absolutely.
Oh boy, you're in for it now. Patrick, what's all this with the circuses?
So, I mean, Dylan repeatedly is using circus, clown, these sort of absurdist images.
The geek in the circus.
Right. And so I think one way of taking that is sort of like the zoo, the funny farm. Look at how crazy this all is, how it's all become. As Dylan looks out from Desolation Row, or as the eye that's speaking there looks out, he says, this is madness. This is a circus. No one can take this seriously. I think there's probably also a way in which the circus for him is a source of strength. I mean, these absurdist lyrics, these wild characters, bless you, this way of sort of casting the world as a silly show somehow makes it more apprehensible, at least momentarily. He's capturing people, and especially throughout this song, you see him, he says, I had to take all these people, rearrange their faces, and give them all another name. He's recharacterizing everyone to make it either safer or to disassociate them or to make them toys that he can play with in these lyrics. And I think the circus is a useful metaphor both to reject that and to reframe it in a way that he can control.
The reference to the circus is crucial and reminds me of what the lynching was historically. It was three black circus workers in Duluth were lynched, and that's the starting point for this absurd romp. In answer to your implicit question, like, is Desolation Row a song for our moment? I mean, clearly it is. Late in the song, the passengers on the Titanic are shouting, "Which side are you on?" Now, which side are you on is a question asked as a kind of slogan from the 1930s. It became a rallying cry of the left, of the communist left in the 30s. And the question meant, this is not a time in the rise of fascism and in the dislocation of people because they can't pay rent, eviction, and of course of intense segregation in the South. This is not a time where you should sit on the fence. You must take sides. If you don't take sides, then you've taken sides on the wrong side. So that was a slogan of a politically divided time. Which side are you on? Because if you're not on the sides against eviction, if you're not on the side against the rise of fascism, if you're not on the side of support of civil rights, then you're on the side of the fascists and the segregationists. And here Dylan, it's now the 60s, and Dylan is saying, the people who are shouting that slogan in 1965 are passengers on the Titanic. What does it mean to be ideologically divided in an album that, notwithstanding Minnesota, that runs all the way down through red states, Highway 61? What does it mean for the core of American culture as he wants to reclaim it, that the slogan that we inherited from the 30s forces an ideological distinction and is the wrong question to ask when the fucking ship is going down? He doesn't have a rephrasing of the question. He doesn't want to ask the question in a way that's answerable. He'd rather have Abraham say to God, "What are you saying? I don't understand what you're asking me to do." And to use surrealism, and what I call a kind of postmodern commitment to not making sense as a way of asking you how you feel in a moment like that. So Desolation Row is where everyone is.
There are so
Was that upbeat?
yeah, I think it really brings us right up here.
I'm
We're just
really
talking
feeling
about
happy
music,
right
guys?
now.
I mean, there are two antecedents that I think of. One, Dylan's, or not an antecedent, I guess, but two lines I always think about when I get to this song. One is Dylan's, which comes from "It's All Right, Ma," where he says, "Well, one who sings with his tongue on fire, gargles in the rat race choir, bent out of shape from society's pliers, cares not to come up any higher, but rather get you down in the hole he's in." And I think, I mean, there are lots of ways to interpret that. The devil, preachers, but I think Dylan there, casting himself as the singer, is saying, this isn't about elevating a position. This isn't about my celebrity. This isn't about getting to a specific place on some totem pole or hierarchy. Get naked. Get invisible. Get laid bare.
Even the President of the United States.
Right. And so I think, over and over again, you see images of nakedness here, of invisibility. He actually strips the listener in like a Rolling Stone. You're invisible now. You've got no secrets to conceal. And so this idea of getting everybody really raw or really bare or really down is important. And you see that come up in, nihilist work like Fight Club, where Tyler Durden wants you to hit rock bottom, wants you to get down to this space where there's nowhere else to go. There's no up and down. There's just sideways, and then to look around and see what's there. And encouraging the listener to get to that space, as painful and as sad as it is a really important part of where he thinks you need to be in order to pay attention.
Just like Tom Thumb's Blues gets us to the same place, that low place where, there's been a hazy, probably drug-filled night in Juarez, or maybe a week in Juarez, and now we're crossing the border in a haze that blurs all the lines except those that are drawn by the authorities, the police, the cops. There's a relevant song, too. Our anti-hero stumbles amid sickness, despair, horrors, saints, and addiction, and battles the corrupt authorities, the perfect 1965 challenger to border crossing, just like Tom Thumb's Blues.